Hashtag Kim Davis and hashtag, excuse me, Kentucky clerk are lighting up Twitter right now. Davis is the county clerk in Kentucky that has turned away 4 same-sex couples seeking marriage licenses.
Yeah, Davis was ordered before a federal judge today to explain why she should not be held in contempt of court. She stopped issuing marriage licenses to gay couples hours after the Supreme Court handed down its same-sex ruling in June. The ACLU tweeted this: "We filed a motion on behalf of our Kentucky clients to hold Kim Davis accountable for denying marriage licenses to couples. She claims issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples would violate her religious convictions." Take a listen.
We're not doing marriage license today.
Why?
Because
Why?
I'm not doing marriage license today. We're pending an appeal.
Under what authority?
Going to court tomorrow.
Under what
God's
authority? God's authority. I knew you would say that.
Isn't this
Politics?
Many are also calling into question Davis's own marriage history. She has been divorced 3 times and is now on her 4th marriage. The storyline has taken on a life of its own on Twitter. Dork Temptress tweeted, "The Kentucky clerk has been married 4 times, so she knows a thing or 4 about the sanctity of marriage."
And Sights Unseen tweeted this: "Turns out Kim Davis isn't a homophobe. She's just hoarding all the marriage licenses for her own personal use. Hashtag married 4 times and counting."
Criminal defense attorney Janet Johnson is back with us now. Janet, let's first talk about what is happening in court today.
Well, the Supreme Court said they won't step in, that they have ruled, and that gay marriage is the law of the land, or same-sex marriage. And so today the ACLU is taking Ms. Davis to court to see if they can have her held in contempt because she is essentially violating the law of the land by not issuing the marriage licenses. Interestingly, they said they don't want her put in jail, even though that is a potential consequence of being held in contempt. They want a fine that will give her an incentive to do what they think is the right thing.
You know, Janet, this seems like it's a collision of religious liberty and a Supreme Court decision. But in this country, we do have a separation of church and state. And at the end of the day, she works for the state. Janet, is that the bigger distinction?
Yeah, I liken it to people who work for a prosecutor's office where the death penalty could be imposed and they're against the death penalty. They can say, I don't want to work on those cases, but they can't stop the entire office from doing what is legal. So in this case, could she be given some sort of accommodation so she doesn't have to actually violate what she thinks is, her personal belief? Yeah, I think that's possible. But to say that I'm going to stop the entire county from doing what is now the law of the land, she just won't win that in a battle in court.
And Janet, there's precedent that's been set where even if you're not acting on behalf of the state and you are like a private business owner, you cannot legally deny service to these people based on their religious beliefs, correct? Or their sexual orientation.
That's a grayer area. I mean, businesses that are small enough that they're not affected by certain laws can say, I don't want to serve people in general. But as a government actor, she took an oath. When you are sworn in as a clerk or even as an attorney, you take an oath to uphold the law first and foremost. Now, it doesn't mean you check your personality or your beliefs at the door, but when you have to decide between, as she said, God's law or the law that was set down by the Supreme Court, she has to abide by the Supreme Court.
All right, Janet, thank you so much for joining us again. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Janet. All right, this is actually a serious issue, but a lot of people are using comedy to talk about Kim Davis and her stance on gay marriage. Memes are popping up everywhere. So let's take a look at a couple of those. We have our first one. So it says, same-sex union destroys the sanctity of marriage. My 3 ex-husbands say they agree with me.
Oh, a little bit of a burn there. Let's keep it going to the next one. When you're so anti-gay, no one will do your hair.
Okay.
That's just mean.
And then the last one, that woman, that moment when you realize your coworker is crazy, of course, referring to the girl in the background.
Yeah, she's giving her a little bit of side eye there, going, what on earth are you thinking?
Yeah.